Welcome to Red and April Off-Grid. We are building a DIY off-the-grid homestead in the Arizona desert.
Well, this fine morning finds us preparing for a trip to Tucson to look at some used cabinets that April found on Facebook Marketplace. Before we left, I had to air up a trailer tire that had a slow leak. It's one of the dangers of living in the desert. Most of the plants have thorns and some of them quite large, and so it's a common problem to have a leak in a tire. Well, we made it to Tucson, and the cabinets looked great, so we started loading them up. There was about 19 pieces, and it completely filled up our 20-foot-long trailer, so this was basically the cabinets from an entire house that were all pulled out and salvaged. And here we are back at the place. April's backing me in here. We just barely beat the rain. In fact, it did sprinkle on us some on the drive home, so it was a bit stressful, and it's threatening rain right now, so we're kind of in a hurry to get these unloaded and in the house for protection. With the rain threatening, we just cleared out a place as fast as we could and started bringing them in and setting them down anywhere in the kind of the main living space of the home, just to get them off of the trailer and into the house. So a little bit about the cabinets. These were made by a local manufacturer in the Phoenix area that's known for making good quality cabinets. They are solid oak doors and faces and have good quality slides and stuff for the drawers. So they seem to be a good quality build. And we only paid $600 for the entire set. And this is the complete set from a house, including bathroom pieces. And so there's 19 pieces total. And so basically our total cost here is $600 for all the cabinets for our house. And it looks like we may even be able to use some for the bathroom. So great deal. We're really excited about finding these. Something else that we like about these cabinets is they have the hidden hinges on the doors, the European style hinges, which I think was a nice feature back when these were made. These are a little bit older. And we also really like the pattern on the doors. You know, it's the solid oak doors, and the pattern is unusual and looks nice. It'll go well with kind of a modern style. So pretty excited about the style and look of these cabinets. Here's a quick look at all the pieces kind of piled in the living room. Nice set. We also got a nice antique table from the same lady for only $50. I'm really excited about it, actually. It was quite a day. We actually ended up finding a door on Facebook Marketplace that same day. So right after we unloaded the cabinets, we went to get this door, and this was an awesome find. So look at this door. It's really nice exterior door. And the crazy thing is, it exactly matches a door that we had previously got. It's a sister door. And come to find out, these doors were manufactured by a local Phoenix cabinet shop in the 70s. And we actually found two doors that were from the same place, made around the same time, and so we'll have matching doors in our bedroom in our house. So really excited about that. I'm doing some measuring in the kitchen to figure out where we're going to put these cabinets. You know, because we were buying a used set, we weren't able to lay it all out beforehand. We had a general idea of where we wanted things, but we had to wait until we actually found the set and then try to piece it in whatever way made sense. So one great thing about this set is it's a huge set. There's 19 pieces, and we figured, we'd be able to make it work. And so, we're just going around taking some measurements and figuring out how to fit it all in. Once we did, we took the extra pieces, the pieces that we decided we weren't going to use, and took them out of the house so that we only have the pieces in the house that we're going to use. And we decided to store the rest underneath the barn by the RV just to keep them out of the rain. We're hoping our son may be able to use some of these extra pieces in his Hyper Adobe build. Well, it all worked out really good. We're going to use 9 pieces in the kitchen and have a complete set of lowers and uppers. It's actually going to be filling up more space in the kitchen than we had first envisioned, but it's going to work out really well. We also have 2 pieces that are going to go in one of the bathrooms as a vanity, and those are just ideal. And then we have a couple pieces that go in the master closet as well. So we'll end up using 13 pieces out of the 19 in the house, and it's everything we could have asked for. Once we were done with that, we just put them in stacks to get them out of the way so that we could work around them. And also might mention too that we'll be painting these eventually. So the monsoon season has begun, and so we're taking some time to clear out some trenches. This is actually a little ditch that we've dug beside the shipping container to keep the water away from the shipping container. Last year, there were times when it was raining so hard that this whole area was just kind of a river coming down through here, and so we wanted to clear this out, and it's just part of our preparations for the monsoon to try to direct the water where we want it to go, keep it away from structures. This weird little short shovel I had here probably wasn't the best tool for the job, but it was what was handy and I made it work. Well, back to drywall. I'm bringing in the lift to work on the ceiling in the master bathroom. This thing comes apart into 3 pieces and assembles pretty easily. There's no, bolts or pins or anything. Gravity keeps it together. You just set one piece down on top of the other and it kind of locks in or holds itself together. It's good that it goes together and comes apart so easily because I have ended up taking it apart a lot. Mostly because it's easier to store leaning up against the wall. It doesn't take up much space. So pretty much every time I get through using it for something, I take it apart and put it up, which it'll be nice for storage later on. As I go into week 5 of drywall, I'm working on the master bathroom here. So we've been hitting it pretty hard for a good while, and we're in the home stretch. We're really looking forward to this, wrapping up this drywall. We knew it was going to be a long ordeal, and we're closing in. So just 2 more rooms left. In the master bathroom here, we're putting in 2 recessed lights and then 1 fixed light. So here I've got the box all installed and ready for this recessed light. Cutting the piece here and getting ready to put it up, putting it on the lift and getting ready to lift this piece into place. Just had one little notch to come out of this piece. Otherwise, it was almost a full piece here. Here's a little lizard friend that we have in the house. We've been getting a lot of lizards into the house. I think they're getting in under the front door, which is that temporary door that I made, so it's not a real tight seal. They seem to like it in here, and we like them, so they keep us company in here. We let them out occasionally, but they get right back in, so they must, like I say, they must like it in here. Here's a little rabbit that April caught through the window. It's out under one of our mesquite trees, and it's eating the beans, so they like those. We're getting a lot of mesquite beans off, and we're actually hoping that we might be able to make some bread with some of the mesquite beans. Well, we're starting to get some monsoon rains, just some sprinkles so far. This lizard likes it too. He's on the screen there checking it out. It's nice to get some afternoon rains. Just finishing up that first ceiling piece in the master bathroom and moving on to the next. The next one will have the hole for that recessed light in it, and I have a special hole saw that's made just for the recessed lights that we purchased. So I actually purchased these recessed lights on Amazon, and they're a standard 6-inch size, and so this hole saw here is made specifically for recessed lights, and it's like 6 3/8 hole is what it cuts out. But it cuts out a hole that is the perfect size for all the recessed lights I'm using, so that's been super nice. They fit in perfectly when I get done, and I don't have to worry about trying to cut a round hole perfectly by hand. So that's worked out really nice. We ended up using a total of 8 recessed lights for the home, and they're really inexpensive if you order them online. So we paid $10 each online, but you have to order them in a pack of 6, and so we ordered 1 pack of 6 and then bought 2 from the local hardware store for twice the price to make the 8 total. I might mention I do put a lot of screws in to hold these things in place, probably more than technically you need to, but I like to make sure that it's very firmly affixed. I'm using the 1 5/8 drywall screws, and those are working great. I do go through a lot of them. I've used 15 or 20 pounds of them so far, so it's quite a few. So we're starting to get some early monsoon rains, and there's an interesting phenomenon that we've observed in the time that we've been here. In the early rains of the year, these insects come out. Just in the early rains is the only time we really notice them. They're a strange looking insect. It almost looks like some kind of flying larva, but they come out like crazy. You don't see them at all until it rains, and then they come out and start flying around during the rain, and they get knocked out, and then knocked out of the air by the raindrops. And then critters go out and eat them. So here's a lizard. The lizards are out there having a heyday because these larva things are flying around, getting knocked out of the sky, falling to the ground. And so they're just, it's buffet time. So they're out eating these things up. The ants come out and harvest them. So the ants come out of the ground like crazy and start harvesting these little creatures that are flying out of the air. This only happens during the first few rains of the monsoon. It's a really cool phenomenon. The next morning after the rain, April went out to check her garden, and she noticed a bunch of those insects on her butternut squash. It seemed like they had gravitated towards the butternut squash for some reason and really were leaving other things alone, but they were doing some damage to the butternut squash, so she was able to just wash them off. They die real easy. I don't know what these bugs are, but she was able to wash them off and rinse them off the plant, and that seemed to stop the problem and the butternuts recovering. But really, really interesting insect. Just have one more decent sized piece of drywall to hang in the ceiling in here. This is actually where the shower is going to be, in the master bath, and we're putting a recessed light in here that's rated for shower use. Speaking of recessed lights, I actually consider them to be a wonder of modern technology. I mean, for $10, you're getting this light that you put in your ceiling that has 5 different warmth settings. It's LED, so it basically, lasts for 20 years. It only uses 12 watts and puts out 110 watt equivalent. So they're just an amazing thing. They're super easy to install. I just love them. They're really cool. You can see April in the background a little bit. She's working on the insulation in the walls. She's finished up the insulation in the ceiling and working on the wall insulation, trying to get ahead of me. Here I am drilling the hole for this recessed light in the shower, getting ready to put that in. Couldn't get the lift in here, so April's going to give me a hand here. So she's lifting it up for me, and we're teaming up to get this in place and get it screwed in and attached. I went ahead and tied in the light for the shower here to the ventilation fan for the bathroom. So they're on the same wire or on the same switch, so that whenever you turn on the light switch to light up the shower, it'll also kick on that ventilation fan and it'll run for as long as you have the light on. So I think that's a good way to do it for showers. Make sure you don't get moisture buildup. I did a quick check and it's all working. The light lights up and the ventilation fan kicked on. Well, changing gears here a little bit, here I am pounding in a ground rod. Now this is something that I should have done like a year ago and I've been meaning to do forever, and I just haven't got around to it. But we've been having some thunderstorms threaten in the afternoon, and I decided it's high time to finally get this done. So this is the ground rod for the AC side of my system. I've had the ground rod for the DC side installed and connected for a long time, but I wanted to drive in a separate ground rod for the AC. I wanted them physically separated, the location of the ground rods separated by as much space as I could. So I drove it in. It's about 10 or 15 feet away, and here I am making the connection in the AC box. This is something that I've been meaning to do for the past years, so I'm glad to finally get it done. This will definitely make me feel better with all the huge thunderstorms that we get during the monsoon, so this is a good time to finally get it done. Also might mention too that we do have surge protectors on the inlet of the DC side. Now getting back to drywall again, before I could do this wall I had to move a stack of hardy board that I had bought in preparation of doing the shower and the bathtub. So this is quite a few pieces of very heavy hardy board that I've had to move around a few times. One of the problems of construction is trying to keep stuff out of the way, constantly moving stuff around so you can get to it. Here you can see I'm working on the exhaust for the dryer. I had originally planned to put a flex hose in, and in fact I had kind of ran that, and some viewers mentioned that could be a fire hazard, so I looked that up and they were right, so I decided to go ahead and fix it. And so I'm putting in solid pipe all the way out, and the way I decided to go ahead and do this is to run inside the wall behind the dryer up to the ceiling, and then I'm going to have to come out of the wall and run the rest on the outside of the wall over to the exhaust port. We decided early on we didn't want to do any roof penetrations just for ease of maintenance later on and to keep the chance of a leak down, and so we decided to go under the eaves with all of our penetrations and do wall penetration. So that was our reasoning behind doing it this way. But as a consequence, I did end up having to run this about 8 feet over to the sidewall. Well, I have the hard pipe in place, and April is doing some insulation in the room. She's actually insulating in around it and finishing up the insulation on that wall so I can finish the drywall. This is an interior wall, so we don't have to insulate it, but especially in the master bedroom, actually in both of the bedrooms and bathrooms, we decided to insulate just for soundproofing so that the guest side and the master both have really good soundproofing. Just really nice to not have to worry about sound traveling through a house. Well, April finished up the insulation on this wall, so I'm starting on the drywall coming across. The first piece was pretty easy, but this next piece has tons of stuff. We're going to leave an opening at the bottom so that we can access the dryer vent and some other stuff. And then there's some sockets here, and then there's an opening for the access to the water for the washer. And so anyway, you can see I'm just tons of measurements, keep having to go back and forth and cut more pieces out of this sheet. Eventually I do get it all done. It's a complicated sheet. I really hope it all fits because I don't want to have to do it again. And here I am bringing this piece in now. You can see all the cuts that I had to make out of it, and it fits all right. Not perfect, but close enough. So I'm going to button it up. I will mention, of course, that all these holes will be behind the washer and dryer, so you won't see them, so I'm not too concerned about them. Also, you notice this piece is a little lighter color. It was on the top of the stack, and so it got a little sun bleached before it was installed, but I think it'll be all right. April has moved on to the master bedroom. This is her last room, and this is the last wall that she needs to insulate. There's quite a bit of detail stuff. You can see she's fitting in carefully around the boxes and around that wire that's run through. She's actually working underneath a window at the moment, but she's in the home stretch, getting close to being done with this. This is always kind of slow going here at the bottom because that's where the wires run through. So a lot of details. She just has to fit it around carefully. Of course, she has to cut smaller pieces to go inside these spaces that are closer than the 16 inches. And she just staples it on the one side, and it's always a nice close fit, so it doesn't ever want to fall out. Just about used up all the purple drywall that I have. We'll need to go to the store and get some more, but here I'm finishing up the door to the closet. So this is the door to the closet from the master bath, and it's going to be a curtain, open and close, and so I'm drywalling in that opening. I've used up all the drywall, and so that leaves a nice open space for now, a cleared area in the living room. So I decided to fix a little problem I had. This white line that you can see here is a conduit for an in-floor outlet, and I had tripped on that and pulled it up out of the ground. It was kind of seated in the ground, so it needed to be fixed. I kept tripping over it, and it was really annoying. So I finally got the chance to reseat it, rebed it, get it in there and covered back up again. And then I ended up putting a little bag over it just to keep me from tripping on it and pulling it out again. April is almost finished with the insulation. So here she's working on the last wall of the master bedroom. This is the last little bit that she has to do, and she will have done the entire house by herself. So I haven't done a single piece of insulation. She has done every bit of this. This is a project that she just took on herself, and she's done completely, and she's done a really amazing job. The care that she puts into the detail, we just couldn't replace that with a contractor. So I'm amazed at the work she's done. It's really went well. She's been working on this off and on for about 4 weeks, and she's just putting in the last pieces now. I will mention that April and I seriously considered having a contractor do the insulation and drywall portion of the build. It just seemed really intimidating, like a lot of hard and unpleasant physical work. But it's part of building a house, and we really wanted to do all of it ourselves, every bit that we possibly could ourselves with our own hands. And so we just jumped in and tackled it, and we're glad we did. We're almost completely done now. You can see the great room. You can see some finishing shots. This is a huge room. But actually, it was one of the easiest rooms. Even though it's really large, it was much easier than the bedrooms and bathrooms. And I'm just doing some finishing touches now, applying the joint compound. A little bit of hand sanding left to do, and this room is almost done. I'm usually a little bit pessimistic when I estimate the amount of time things will take, and so I estimated about 4 weeks on this drywall and insulation, and April is usually a little more optimistic. She was thinking it'd take less. Anyway, it's over 4 weeks now, so it's taking longer than even I estimated. But actually not too bad. I'm thinking it's looking like 5.5 weeks, and we should have all of this wrapped up. So I will say that physically, I don't think we would have got through this without some of the tools that we ended up buying. The lift was amazing, and also the power sander made this big space in here possible. These ceilings, I just couldn't have got through them without it. I still have to do a lot of hand sanding touch-up, especially in the corners. It doesn't get in the corners or along the edges well. But just being able to use it for those big expanses made it doable. And so overall, we're almost through it. The end is in sight, and we're looking forward to moving on to something new after 5 weeks of solid drywall insulation.
So it is June 23rd. I just picked the last 2 radishes. They're getting to be pretty good size. I should have picked them earlier, but I think they'll be okay. Always enjoy eating the greens. The squash and zucchini are starting to get bigger. Finally starting to pick some of those. This plant is just massive, but just isn't producing a whole lot. We're finally starting to get a little bit of rain. We've just had several days of light rain. So I know at some point we're going to get dumped on, because that's what happens during the monsoon season. So the beans are at the very top of the trellis. Everything is just growing like crazy. So here we are now. It is July 6th. The garden is growing like crazy. Can't even see the flowers that were under the zucchini there. The beans are getting really thick. I picked my first batch yesterday. So everything is really growing. The okra are starting to get a little size to them. The leaves on the zucchini plant are just humongous, and it's just branching out all over the place. So my next video will probably be a gardening video. So if any of y'all are interested in that. And then after that, we'll get back to the house build. Red will be finishing up the rest of the drywall, and he's starting to work on the floors. starting to grind down the concrete and then put in cabinets, and so lots going on with the house build. So be sure to subscribe and give us a thumbs up so you'll get notified when we put out new videos. But we appreciate you all so much. Thank you so much for watching, and join us again next time.